What does it feel like to be a backup lover for several beautiful women at the same time? As the saying goes, quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Being someone's backup lover is being a backup lover. But if I become the backup lover of 100 women, aren't they, in a way, also my backup lovers? So, I was the backup lover for 3 beautiful women. The first one was my childhood sweetheart. Her heart was still stuck on her first love. The second one was a singer. After I simped for her for a whole year, she told me, "You don't seriously think I'd marry a broke guy like you, do you?" The third one was my boss. She coldly warned me, "Don't have any improper thoughts about me. I'll only marry a man stronger than myself." Then one day, my mom urged me to go on a blind date. My childhood sweetheart secretly brought over our household registration book. The singer cried and said, "I can't live without you anymore." My boss put on a wedding dress and demanded I take responsibility. Wait a second, didn't we agree from the start that it was just for fun? Chapter 1. My mom called to nag me about going on a blind date. I brushed her off, saying, Yeah, I know. Send me the time and place," I added. When I hung up, Sophia walked out of the bathroom. She was wearing a beige long-sleeved knit top, sleeves rolled up, holding the freshly washed laundry she'd done for me as she passed through the living room. Then she went out onto the balcony to hang the clothes. She glanced at me softly and asked, "Who was that on the phone?" I sighed. "My mom." The woman moved the clothes under the sunlight and turned to look at me. The gentle afternoon light traced her in gold, and her amber eyes shimmered like autumn leaves. She said, "I'm going to meet my best friend tonight, so I won't be back for dinner. I made fish and vegetables. The fish is staying warm in the pot. Just heat the veggies in the microwave." "Okay." She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Her brows curved gently, and she smiled at me with tenderness. Then she added, "And no ordering takeout." I muttered a half-hearted "got it," and watched her grab her bag and head out the door. But I knew. Her first love came back to the country today. Chapter 2. I live with Sophia. She's gentle and considerate. I barely have to lift a finger around the house. But the problem is, she's not my girlfriend. She's still waiting for Makoto. Strictly speaking, I'm just the backup plan, a spare tire. Chapter 3. I wasn't always like this. It's all because of those so-called inspirational romance novels for men that misled me. Those stories that teach guys how to treat a girl right. Where some average guy quietly loves his childhood sweetheart and, after years of devotion, finally wins her heart. I looked at that and thought, isn't that just me and Sophia? Childhood friends, growing up side by side. She was beautiful, bright, but she only ever got close to me. And me, average looks, average grades, average everything. Yet she'd always walk home with me, study with me, even bring me pastries she baked herself. She'd tell me, "Eat it all, no leftovers." That melted me. I started paying attention, memorizing her likes, bringing her breakfast, buying her gifts, sending her little red envelopes of cash on holidays. Until the night of graduation, Sophia walked into our classroom holding a pink envelope. Her cheeks flushed. She was nervous, shy. It looked like every teenage love confession ever written. The whole class fell silent. My heart was pounding. Sophia lowered her gaze, standing before me, lips pressed together. I knew. I totally knew. She was just shy. I stood up and shouted, "I lo." The next second, she turned to my deskmate and said, "I love you, Makoto." Everyone looked at me. My face turned red as I quickly changed my words. "I lo." I lost my pencil. Sorry. I quickly picked up my pencil, pretended I needed to go to the bathroom, and ran off. I left in complete embarrassment. When I came back, I peeked through the door. On the stage stood the handsome rich kid, the school's golden boy troublemaker, and my childhood sweetheart. The crowd cheered. "Kiss, kiss." The boy leaned down, reverent and restrained, and asked softly, "Can I, Sophia?" She nodded, blushing. I didn't watch any further. Chapter 4. After that, I started avoiding Sophia, but she waited for me right at my door. I turned around, ready to leave. She grabbed my sleeve, looking all innocent. "George, brother," she said softly. Then, with those pitiful eyes, she added, "I've always seen you as my brother." Brother, my ass. What kind of sister does homework so close that your faces almost touch? Shameless pretentious coquette. Unfortunately, I'd always been smooth with people. Actually, just obsessed with saving face. So I forced a grin and said, "Haha, no worries. I've always seen you as my little sister too. Your brother wishes you happiness." Sophia looked at me. She really was beautiful, those wide, innocent doe eyes, pupils the color of light honey. She whispered pitifully, "Then don't be mad at me, okay? Don't ignore me." I said, "Okay," then immediately applied to a university as far away from her as humanly possible. Goodbye forever. Chapter 5. I lost contact with Sophia for 4 years. Only from my side. She replies to my messages in a second. But my replies feel like they take an eternity to arrive. She said she was on vacation and wanted to come here to have fun. My roommate and I immediately packed up and went home. Then, during my first year of work, she messaged again. She'd been transferred to a company here. It was my first year working. I lived alone. I hadn't become the calm, confident office elite I once imagined. Endless work and messy office politics crushed me like a corporate slave. When I opened my door and saw Sophia, I hadn't slept for 2 nights. The apartment was a disaster, stuff scattered everywhere, takeout boxes still piled in the trash. She looked immaculate, makeup perfect, outfit graceful, carrying a bag of fruits and vegetables. Her eyes fell on the dark circles under mine. Then she smiled gently, just like when we were kids. I knew you'd never take proper care of yourself, you big oaf, she scolded. Look at this place, no girlfriend, and your home's already a mess, I said impatiently. What are you doing here? She breezed past me into the apartment like she owned it, went straight into the kitchen to wash vegetables and boil water. I followed her, grumbling. I didn't ask you to come in. She shooed me away. Out. Wait there. Before I could react, she'd already started cleaning, washing the dishes, tidying the mess in my bedroom, straightening the crooked books on my shelf. 4 hours later, I sat in a spotless living room, sunlight warm on my shoulders. The place looked brand new. On the coffee table sat a steaming bowl of noodles she'd made for me. I looked up at her. Sophia was still mopping the floor. An apron tied around her waist traced her graceful figure. Beads of sweat glistened at her temples, catching the light. I squinted at her and asked, "What's your deal?" She tilted her head, gave a little hum, and said, "What, can't I come? Not happy to see me?" I sighed, rubbing my forehead. "I'm afraid your boyfriend's gonna show up and beat me to a pulp. Don't get me into trouble, okay?" She paused, her gaze dimming, voice softening. "Makoto and I broke up a long time ago. He went abroad for college." I lowered my head and quietly kept eating my noodles. Chapter 6. Back then, I was already being a backup plan for Freya. But you know what they say, quantitative change leads to qualitative change. Being a backup for one woman makes you a simp. Being a backup for 2, well, aren't they my backups, too? Chapter 7. After Sophia and I made up, we rented a big apartment together, separate bedrooms. Of course, now that her first love is back, I'm not planning to renew the lease. It's too big for just me anyway, might as well find a new place. I packed a few things in my room, then decided to head out and find Freya. Ask her to help me look for an apartment. She's a local, after all. Chapter 8. I stood at Freya's door, punched in the code. The lock clicked open. When I walked in, she was just stepping out of the bathroom. A towel was the only thing wrapped around her body. The steam had flushed her fair cheeks a soft pink. Droplets slid down her hair, tracing the line of her collarbone, disappearing into the towel's edge. She squinted those almond-shaped eyes with a calm little smile, opened the fridge, and handed me a can of beer. I stared at her long, smooth legs, pale, flawless, took a gulp of beer and said, "Aren't you afraid I might be a bad guy?" She chuckled, voice sweet and teasing. "You're the only one who knows my door code." I replied dryly, remembering why I'd come. I started. "I came too," but she cut me off. "Perfect timing," she said. The next second, she slipped into my arms, wrapping herself around me. A faint scent of body wash lingered at the tip of my nose. Her body was hot against mine. Even the droplets falling onto my neck felt like fire. Her voice came soft and low. "Just finished showering." She looked up at me, gaze hazy and magnetic, then whispered, her tone sticky and sultry. "I'm especially," her voice lingered, tempting, velvety, "especially clean." Chapter 9. After several hours of intense battle, I collapsed into sleep. When I woke up, the sky was already dark. My back ached, my waist was sore, and when I stood up, my legs trembled. I knew it. Every time I came to see Freya, no matter what the reason was, it always ended up in bed. Instinctively, I went to the balcony to find her. She was holding a slender cigarette between her fingers. Her cold, beautiful profile was bathed in the fading light, carrying a kind of melancholy. That's just how she was, devastatingly seductive. She could drive men insane, even knowing what kind of woman she was. The moment you looked at her face, you couldn't help but feel a pang of tenderness for her. Not that I knew why I pitied her. Honestly, I should have pitied myself, the overworked fool that I was. Leaning on the doorframe, I said, "Smoking again?" Freya turned around, her peach blossom eyes curving like hooks. She pulled something from her lips. A lollipop spun lightly against them before she smiled. "Nope," she said. "I'm quitting. Using candy instead." I raised an eyebrow. That sudden. I'd known Freya for over 6 years. She'd always been carefree, tattoos, cigarettes, drinking, clubs. But now, The tattoos were gone. She'd quit smoking, and she didn't go out at night anymore. She nodded. Yeah. Resting her chin in one hand, she looked at me and said softly, I want to settle down, say goodbye to who I used to be. I could sense something beneath the surface, a hint of looking for a nice guy to take responsibility. So I wisely kept my mouth shut. She tiptoed up, kissed me, and turned back into the apartment. There were still faint red marks on her neck. Mine, she said. My boyfriend's coming to pick me up later. Don't come out, I asked. Seriously? She replied. This time, I think it's for real. Chapter 10. Freya was the lead singer of a band. Semi-famous, stunningly beautiful, with a body made for sin and those soft, watery eyes that made every look feel like a promise. Back in sophomore year, a friend dragged me out drinking, after that humiliating thing with Sophia in high school. I'd avoided love completely in college. Then I met Freya, like stepping out of the tutorial zone straight into a boss-level succubus. Guys like me had never seen someone like her. When she flirted, it was deadly precise. I was hooked before I even knew it. Within a month, she had me dancing in her palm like a simp. I'd show up every night to pick her up, work part-time on weekends, save every penny I could, just to buy her gifts and luxury bags. I started thinking of myself as her almost boyfriend, feeling smug about it, never noticing the way everyone else looked at me, until the night I confessed. She'd gone drinking at a nightclub. Her best friend called me from her phone, laughing in a teasing tone. Brother-in-law, she said, Freya's drunk and keeps calling your name. I agreed immediately, stammering that I'd be right there. When I arrived, Freya threw herself into my arms, her face nuzzled into my neck, her soft hair brushing against my skin, her sweet scent making my heart race. She murmured my name over and over, voice low, tender, and intoxicating. I was utterly lost, dizzy with longing, even imagining what kind of pet we'd have once we moved in together. When I brought her home, I turned to leave, but she looped her arms around my neck and kissed me. Somehow, my hand went to the back of her head, and I kissed her back, hard. Reason drowned in the tide of impulse. I pushed her down onto the sofa. That night is a blur. I only remember the shimmer in her eyes, and the strawberry-scented wrapper she handed me. Chapter 11. The door to a new world had opened for me. Afterwards, reason came flooding back. Looking at her tear-streaked face, I felt guilty. I spoke slowly, every word solemn. Freya, I'll take responsibility for you. But the next second she burst out laughing. Seeing the stunned look on my face, she handed me her phone. Messages kept popping up, all from different men. They read things like, Baby, weren't you at the bar tonight? Can we meet up? Name your price. Freya, please reply to me. I really like you. I snapped out of it and started scrolling. The red notification dots on WeChat kept appearing. There were also transfer notifications. My hands trembled a little. Freya lay there under a thin, half-covering blanket, the afterglow of the night still on her. She smiled like a flower trembling in the breeze and said, Just tap one of my moments. I opened the chat history. There were several messages she hadn't answered. From her profile I entered her moments page. The photos showed plenty of luxury cars and mansions, wealthy trust fund heirs. She took the phone back from my hand and said frankly, You can see it for yourself, lots of people chase me. I don't need you to be responsible for me. She added, Besides, you can't afford me. She laughed and said, That night I was betting with my girlfriends. How to put it, you really are physically impressive. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh. Should I thank her? She said, You got off cheap, didn't you? Others would have paid money for this. Smack. I slapped her. They say men don't cry easily. But the tears wouldn't stop falling. I pushed myself up. Freya turned her face away. A flush rose across her cheek. She pressed her lips together, then looked back and said slowly, word by word, I'm a woman. I want to be spoiled. Want someone to look after me. What's wrong with that? I put my clothes on and walked out. Freya called after me. There's still time. Won't you come again? I ignored her and kept going. She didn't say anything more. Chapter 12. Later. I kind of regretted it. That night, I should have grabbed the bedside lamp and smashed it over her head twice. Why did I only slap her once? That was the day the pure love war god inside me fell, crushed completely by a heartless woman, wounded beyond repair. I locked up my heart and focused only on studying. Junior year was rough. The pressure of graduate school recommendations was suffocating. I had nowhere to vent. Anxiety made my hair fall out daily. One night, stuck on a problem I couldn't solve, I got a call from Freya. Her voice was lazy and alluring, soaked in alcohol. George, I miss you so much. Rage boiled up in me. I decided to take a cab over, to slap her again. When I arrived, I banged on her door furiously. Freya leaned against the wall to open it. She looked up at me, eyes glinting like a fox in the dark woods, bewitching and dangerous. I froze for a second. Then she smiled, voice soft and teasing. You came. Shameless. I shoved her down onto the couch and slapped her hard across the face. Her head turned with the blow, covering her cheek. She looked at me, eyes wet and trembling. She whispered pitifully. "You still don't know how to be gentle with a woman." I sneered. "You vile woman." Freya just curved her lips into a smirk, completely unfazed. So I grabbed the back of her neck and lost control. Rough, reckless, relentless. She gasped and whimpered, but still refused to yield. Anger taught me, instinctively, how to torment. By the end, Freya was crying, her peach blossom eyes red and swollen. She begged weakly, "George, brother, please." And with that, all my pent-up pressure was gone. Chapter 13. When I woke up, she looked the same as always, smiling lazily, utterly satisfied. She said, "Let's stay friends, okay?" My anger had drained away. She didn't look as disgusting now. I said calmly, "Get out." I got up to leave. She asked, "Don't you want another round?" I said, "Sure." Chapter 14. And so, without ever saying it aloud, we began this shameful arrangement. I had only one rule for Freya, a health check every 2 weeks. Thanks to her, my illusions about beautiful women were completely destroyed. The simp in me was dead. We did everything. Freya was up for anything. She was beautiful, had an amazing body, and knew plenty. Most importantly, she was free. She cried beautifully, but once out of bed, she became someone else entirely. I always thought she'd live like that forever, playing around, untamed. Never imagined she'd want to find some decent guy to settle down with. That would just ruin another honest man. Chapter 15. Voices drifted faintly from the living room. I snapped back to reality. That must have been the boyfriend Freya had mentioned. The man's voice was gentle, soft and calm, and with just a few words, he made Freya laugh out loud. I cracked the door open slightly. From the gap, I could see the side of his face. Handsome, clean, well-groomed. The gifts he brought looked expensive too. No wonder, I thought. I lay in bed scrolling on my phone for an hour. When they finally left, they lingered at the doorway, flirting for more than 20 minutes before he went out the door. Once the door shut, I came out of my room. Freya still had a smile on her face, a softness I'd never seen in her before. At that moment, I couldn't even bring myself to ask about the apartment. Maybe it was better this way. Time to cut ties completely. I said, "Let's not see each other again." Freya froze. The smile faded. She looked at me for a few seconds. Then that usual teasing smirk returned. She gave a little hum and said, "That trick doesn't work on me." She thought I was jealous, playing hard to get. Too bad. I'd long stopped reading those romance novels. I didn't believe in love anymore. Calmly, I said, "I'm serious." She stared at me for a while, then brushed past to pour herself some water. Taking a sip, she said casually, "It's not like ours was anything worth keeping anyway." I nodded. "Then I'll go." She didn't reply. I put on my coat and walked out. Just as the door closed behind me, I heard a faint crash, like glass breaking. It was late when I got home. I reheated the food Sophia had left and ate it. Played a few rounds of games. It was deep into the night. She still hadn't come back. I hesitated, thought about asking where she was, then changed my mind. She and Makoto had gotten back together. They were probably in the middle of rekindling old flames. No need for me to intrude. Sophia had stayed faithful to Makoto all these years. Even after we started living together, a man and a woman under one roof, there had been a few close calls, but each time, at the very last moment, she'd pull away. More than once, I'd been standing at attention, and she'd just push me off gently, saying, "You can take care of it yourself." You could call her a pretentious coquette, but at least she had boundaries. Call her heartless, maybe, but she could still cook. I took a walk around the apartment, roughly planning how I'd move out. Then I started packing. At first, I fumbled with the boxes, but soon enough I got into a rhythm. I sealed one up, yawned, and went to take a shower. Folding clothes and organizing, those were things Sophia had taught me. She loved doing chores. When I told her I should help out, she'd smile and shake her head. "You're all thumbs. Leave it to me." I just smiled back and said, "I want to learn." And that's how she taught me. What can I say? It felt nice to be cared for. But I didn't want to be useless. Chapter 16. When I got up in the morning, Sophia wasn't home. There was no breakfast waiting in the pot either. I changed clothes and went downstairs to buy some steamed buns. On my way out, I noticed that she'd changed her shoes at the entryway, so she must have come back late last night. I glanced at my phone. A message from Sophia. "George, my best friend's feeling down. I'm going to keep her company for a few days, so I won't be back for a while. Don't forget to water the flowers on the balcony, and stop ordering takeout all the time. Got it?" I replied, "Okay." Scrolling through WeChat moments as I walked, I saw Makoto's latest post from last night. Men think a succubus is a beauty in black stockings. But in truth, the real enchantress is the one who asks, "Do you have a Coke?" The one who understands your exhaustion, your struggles. Who encourages you when you're down. And celebrates you when you succeed. A warm harbor, calm and steady. Then he'd added a comment below. Nothing serious, just needed a break after some stressful weeks. Didn't expect her to take leave and come home with me. I took a bite of my bun. And gave the post a like. Chapter 17. I go to work as if burdened by all the world's sorrows. Yet I slack off with the joy of a carefree soul. In the break room, the female colleagues were buzzing with gossip. One of them said, "Did you see the handsome guy who went into Willow's office today?" Another chimed in, "I ran into him downstairs, he was driving a Maybach." I walked in. And someone immediately handed me a cup of coffee. "George, I just made this for you." Guess I'd finally made it to the office veteran stage. I took it with a smile and thanked her. Then she leaned in and whispered, "George, did you see the guy who came to see Willow today? I heard he's the heir of Shinyu and Tech." I couldn't help staring. The vibe between them was perfect. Really, I wasn't paying much attention. "Yeah," I said absently. "Sounds like a great match." "George," the cold voice came from behind me. All chatter stopped instantly. I turned around. Willow stood there, expression frosty. Her waist was slim, her legs long, her figure perfectly shaped. She was wearing a simple business suit. But on her, it looked impossibly striking. For a moment, I felt guilty for no reason. She looked away and said evenly, "Marketing department meeting in 30 minutes. I nodded. As she turned to leave, the lingering chill she left behind made no one dare speak again. Chapter 18. Willow, my boss, the Ice Queen, untouchable, so strict that no one ever left her office smiling, but the company's pay was just too good to quit. People said she had a secret soft side, that behind her cold facade, she actually cared about her team. Still, she intimidated me. She reminded me of my middle school homeroom teacher, the one who'd scold me so harshly I'd want to disappear, yet would invite me over for dinner when my parents were away on business trips. Chapter 19. Things with her started in my second year on the job. I failed the grad school recommendation interview and quietly took a job. The first year was brutal. By the second year I'd gotten slick like noodles in a hot pot. Promotions came one after another. Sophia took such good care of me. Freya made sure I ate well. Life felt comfortable, and I was content. A person who knows contentment is a happy person. My involvement with Willow Lu was a total accident. The person who was supposed to go on that business trip had a family emergency and couldn't leave, so I filled in at the last minute. Just a grunt worker doing whatever was needed, flattering the boss, flattering the client, serving tea, doing menial tasks. Willow didn't handle alcohol well. At the dinner that night she collapsed after a single drink. When I helped her back to her room, she could hardly walk straight. I was sweating from the effort. I'd just ordered a bottle of hangover cure when I turned to find she'd somehow ended up in the bathtub. "President Lu," I cried, rushing to help her out. I nearly ran into her as she was taking off her clothes, slowly, almost childlike, fumbling as she unbuttoned one by one. I froze. Every time I tried to button one she'd undo another. Eventually she got annoyed and yanked the rest off. The buttons flew to the floor. I stood there dumbstruck. Willow looked up at me, eyes shimmering. "Hot," she said, and then threw the clothes to the floor. I picked them up to cover her and said, "I'll turn the AC down a bit, Willow, put these on." She tossed them farther away. I went to pick them up again and when I turned, even her camisole was gone. I exclaimed in shock, "Wow, so white." "No, wait, I mean, the bathtub is so white." If I didn't do something, I worried the next day's headlines would be about a female boss drowning in a hotel tub. I moved to help her out. "Come on, let's go to bed. There'll be a hangover soup soon. You'll catch a chill out here." "No." Willow looped an arm around my neck and kissed me. Lips to lips, it seemed simply to silence me. She reached for the faucet. Warm water flowed. I reflexively reached to turn it off. Willow bit my lip in annoyance. "Could I take that?" I bit back. She cried out, and I used that moment to drive forward, taking ground, conquering. Only after I'd gotten what I wanted did we pull apart. Willow's mouth was swollen, wet with the aftermath. She looked up at me. Her usually cold phoenix-like eyes were bright with moisture. For a moment I stayed silent. A gentleman would have left then, but I wasn't a gentleman. I lowered my head and kissed her again. Chapter 20. I slept until late morning, felt like I'd gone 12 rounds in a fight. When I woke, water was roaring from the bathroom. I pressed my forehead, sat up, and grabbed my phone. The water stopped. Willow came out in a robe, the sash cinching her waist tight. Too bad the robe had a plunging V-neck that left a shocking corner of scenery exposed. She asked coldly, "Awake?" Her expression was flat, nothing angry. I answered meekly, like a quail, "Mm." She sat on the single armchair and picked up her phone. "George," she said, You're actually pretty competent at work. You have a steady kind of presence. I thought you'd be safe. She was implying I was plain looking. Her fingertips tapped the screen a few times. My phone buzzed. I looked down and unlocked it. A transfer notification. My eyes went wide. She said, "Mistakes made under the influence of alcohol. We're all adults. I don't want it to get complicated." She added. I nodded quickly. If it's a mistake, it should be corrected. Willow glanced up at the company. "We're just boss and subordinate." She paused, then continued, "Privately. A physical relationship, very pure." I stared, stunned. She looked straight at me, her gaze cold and distant. She ignored me, stood, and in front of me slid off her robe with a smooth, unself-conscious motion, not sparing me a shy glance. "George," she said, high and lofty, looking at me with disdain as if I were trash, her voice icy. "Don't get any improper ideas about me. I absolutely admire strength. I only like men who are stronger and more outstanding than I am. I have zero interest in weaklings or losers." After she left, I lay back down, still buzzing from the joy of that huge transfer. As for what she'd just said, I barely registered it. It landed with zero impact. Chapter 21. It was my first time being kept by a rich woman. I didn't have any experience. Willow wasn't hard to please. As long as she had cold drinks in the summer, hot ginger tea during her period, and I came whenever she called, that was enough. Her needs were simple. She didn't have any strange kinks. After we finished, she'd tell me to get lost. Didn't care if I was exhausted or not. That's how it went for half a year. I worked hard, dutifully devoted to my role. Then came Willow's birthday. Not knowing what to do, I actually went online to ask. The comment section was full of lunatics. In the end, I decided to give her a bracelet. Commissioned a famous designer. Had it custom made from a design sketch. Cost time, money, and effort. I sighed to myself, even being kept. I was still this damn professional. Chapter 22. On her birthday, wanting to show I cared, I handed her the small jewelry box after my morning report. "Willow," I said, "happy birthday." Her gaze fell on the box, expression unreadable. "Thank you," she said, but she didn't reach for it. "George," she continued, her voice cold. A wall of distance between us. "I remember telling you, our relationship will never go further. Instead of wasting time doing useless things, you should focus more on your work. Don't cross the line." I bowed my head and said, "Understood." Then this, I gestured to the box. "Leave it," she said. I stepped out, cursing her silently in my head. Hard to please, that woman. If you don't take it seriously, she's offended. If you do, she's still offended. Even flattering people is an art form. Chapter 23. I didn't know if Willow did it on purpose, but that day's workload was unusually tough. I stayed late. When I finally left, I ran into the janitor, Aunt Lee. She looked unusually cheerful, holding a small box that looked familiar. "Hey, Aunt Lee," I called. She stopped. My eyes went to the box in her hand, confirmed it. It was the one I'd given Willow that morning. Puzzled, I asked, "That's..." I'd greeted her a few times before in the restroom. We were on friendly terms. She didn't dodge the question, just grinned from ear to ear. "Someone gave it to me." "Oh no, wait," she corrected herself. "I found it when cleaning. In the trash bin. Thought I'd take a look before tossing it." When I opened it, my goodness, it was still brand new. Clearly expensive. I figured maybe someone dropped it by accident. So I went to ask President Liu. She chuckled. She said it's just trash. Told me to deal with it however I want. I froze for a moment. Aunt Lee went on. "It's still new, such a waste to throw it out. Look, isn't it beautiful?" She opened the box to show me. The bracelet glittered under the corridor lights. Delicate and perfect against the velvet lining. I said, "Yeah," then smiled. "Looks pricey." She nodded. "Exactly. Rich people." "Huh," I said. "Head home soon." "Aunt Lee, looks like it's going to rain." She smiled. "All right, I'll be off then." I watched her go, light on her feet, as if fortune itself had just fallen into her hands. Then I turned and took the elevator down. Chapter 24. The elevator doors closed, reflecting my stiff, fake smile. Damn it, I was fuming inside. "You could have at least told me you threw it away. I would have picked it up myself." A whole month's salary, just gone. You think money grows on trees? I swore then and there, I'd get every cent back from her. Chapter 25. So on my birthday, I sent her a link. Willow replied with a single question mark. That was strange, the car was only about 2 million yuan. Did she think I was being too greedy? I started typing. Haha. I was actually just asking if you'd like me to rent one for. Before I could finish, a notification pinged. A transfer, worth 10 times the price of the car. Her message followed. Buy a few more. Rotate them when you drive. For a moment, I was stunned. then quickly remembered to thank my rich lady patron before accepting the payment. Chapter 27. Life as a backup plan was turning out better than I'd ever imagined. At work, even when I saw colleagues who tried to trip me up, I could smile and greet them, although being someone's backup is humiliating. This king still has Willow, the golden goose, Freya, the cozy bedmaid, and Sophia, the foot-washing girl. That's enough for me. Chapter 28. Without Sophia or Freya, I felt a slight sense of loss, but nothing unbearable. The only one I couldn't quite let go of was Willow. After all, money was my one true love. Just the thought of losing that stream of income hurt a little. Chapter 29. After a meeting, a colleague came over to chat. I carried my files, answering him while heading out, not realizing Willow was still seated at the head of the table, reviewing documents. Back at my desk, I reached for my pocket, and realized my phone was missing. I went back to the conference room. Willow sat there alone. I paused. President Lou, she responded without looking up. I gave a nervous laugh. Seems I left my phone on the table during the meeting. The tabletop was spotless. I frowned. That's weird. I checked under the chair, nothing. Must have left it in my office after all. I muttered. Haha. Guess I'm getting forgetful lately. As I turned to leave, her voice cut through the air. It's here. She tapped the tabletop with a manicured finger. I looked over. Willow's expression was cool as ice. I walked over, picked up the phone, and said, "Thanks. I'll get back to." She interrupted sharply. "Do you think I'm some gullible little girl? This trick is pathetic." I blinked. What? I glanced down at the screen. 2 messages from my blind date were visible on the lock screen. Then let's meet Saturday at 10 a.m. Forest Cafe, Willow said coldly. I used to think you were pragmatic. That was your only redeeming quality. Now even that's gone. George, there's no possibility between us. She paused. This is the end, I replied. Okay, nodded. She looked momentarily taken aback. A flash of surprised vulnerability. Even cute for a second, I said. Then I'll get back to work. She stayed silent. I turned and left. Clean cut. One stroke to end it all. All 3 of them. Chapter 30. After work, to everyone's surprise, Willow joined the employee elevator. The cramped space was packed, bodies squeezed into corners. She stood at the very front, face blank and unreadable, as if completely unaware of the attention. I stood beside her. The elevator descended floor by floor. Then she suddenly spoke. "Take me home today." A soft gasp rippled through the people behind us. I kept my eyes on the floor numbers, pretending not to hear. "George." Her tone sharpened. "Ah." I turned my head. "President Lou, were you talking to me?" I didn't drive today," she said coolly. "You'll take me home?" I nodded. "Sure thing, boss." Another round of quiet gasps came from behind. Willow glanced sideways at me. For the first time in days, she almost looked amused. Chapter 31. I walked straight to the car. Willow, still standing outside, bit her lip, waiting for me to open the door for her. When I didn't move, she finally opened it herself and sat in the passenger seat. I buckled my seatbelt, then noticed her staring at me. "President Lou," I said, puzzled. "What are you looking at?" "Put on your seatbelt." She gave a small huff. "Nothing." Then turned away and fastened it herself. Silence filled the car. Now and then, Willow stole glances at me from the corner of her eye. I kept my eyes on the road, pretending to be deaf. As we neared her place, she finally broke. "Why did you agree so easily?" Then, realizing how that sounded, she added, "I was just curious." I said, "Weren't you the one who didn't want to continue?" Her tone soured. "I was just testing you." She trailed off, then grumbled, "I thought you'd be like everyone else, at least not so indifferent." I blinked. "Wait, how many people are you testing at once?" Willow froze. Her cheeks flushed red. "What are you talking about? Of course I'm not. I don't have anyone else. It's only you." Then she mumbled, "I meant, my girlfriends told me when they break up with their boyfriends. Those guys always try to make it right, beg to stay together." "Nope. My pride's worth more than that," I said. "That's because they still have feelings." She looked at me. "And you? Do you have no feelings for me?" I answered, "No, never had any." Inside, I thought, I'd locked my heart away long ago. If I had any feelings left, they were only for money. Chapter 32. The car stopped by the side of the road. But she wouldn't get out. Willow glared at me, that always cool, distant gaze now filled with disbelief. "You don't love me?" she demanded. I frowned. "Why should I love you?" She froze, then stammered, But why do you make ginger tea for me when I'm not feeling well? Why do you comfort me when I lose my temper? Why do you put so much effort into my gifts?" "Because, ma'am, you paid for it. It's called professional ethics." "Then why?" She pressed on, voice trembling. "Why do you always cling to me afterwards, refusing to leave?" Because I'm tired, lady. Even a workhorse needs rest. I was furious, but only for a moment. No matter what, she was still my boss. She gave a soft little snort. You're angry. The corners of her lips lifted. Because I hit the mark. There was just no reasoning with this woman. I sighed. Yes. Then I started spouting nonsense. Right. I love you. Willow's face softened instantly. Triumphant. I knew it, she said. Then I can forgive you this once. She straightened up again. That same lofty, superior tone. From now on, she said, don't try to manipulate me. And also, she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and added lightly. This weekend. I'm free, I said firmly. No, she blinked. What? I shook my head, recalling all those melodramatic TV plots where heartbroken men hurt themselves to prove their love. Then I kept rambling, solemn as ever. But I can't love you anymore. Her eyes widened. Why? I looked down, pretending to be humble and tragic. Because love is about letting go, about blessing the other person's happiness. Willow, you're so extraordinary. You deserve someone worthy of you, I said. There's no future for us. I can't hold you back. That's it. Then, with a deep, melancholy stare, I threw in a final flourish. Mortals and gods walk different paths. I lament my prime years. Unmatched and misunderstood. Our ending was written long ago. Willow was stunned. George, she whispered. I gave her my best pained smile. I just hope we both find happiness. Chapter 33. Whether Willow found happiness or not, I had no idea. But when I got back to my apartment complex, the street vendor selling wolf-tooth potatoes was still open downstairs. I bought a portion, ate as I walked upstairs, and honestly, I felt pretty damn happy. Chapter 34. Over the next few days, I packed up everything in the apartment, threw out what I could, and signed the lease for a new place. Quick and clean, I moved out in one go. I left the keys in the old apartment. Just as I stepped out, a message came from Sophia. My best friend's in a bad mood. I might need a few more days before I come back. George, should we hire someone to cook for you? Be honest, you've been living off takeout again, haven't you? I replied. No need. I moved out. And that best friend you're comforting, that wouldn't happen to be Makoto, right? Your male best friend. Then I added kindly, if you two are getting back together, remember to keep some distance from other guys. The message had barely sent before a voice call popped up. I declined it. She called again. I declined again. She called a third time. Declined. Then she stopped. A message followed. So you know. Wait for me, 4 days at most. I'll come back and explain. That was so very Sophia. I didn't reply. Chapter 34. At work, I reported to Willow as usual. Now and then, she'd look at me with some complicated expression. I couldn't read it. Didn't bother trying. Thick skin was my armor. I kept doing my job. One evening after work, I headed for the exit. The elevator doors slid open, and there she was. Good evening, President Liu, I greeted. Willow nodded and walked out beside me. I asked, you didn't drive again today? I did, she said, then added, I just wanted to talk to you. George, she began. I've been thinking, maybe we could, but before she could finish, a voice rang out behind me. George. Freya was leaning casually against my car, waving. You're finally off work, she said with a grin. Chapter 35. Willow's face darkened instantly. I said politely, well, we'll be heading out then. I opened the passenger door for Freya, then circled back to nod at Willow before getting into the driver's seat. Seatbelt clicked, and I hit the gas, leaving her behind. At the red light, Freya turned to me. Why didn't you tell me you moved? I asked. Why are you even here? Instead of answering, she pressed on. You moved out, didn't you? Yeah. Why didn't you tell me? I glanced over. Her red lips curled in that same sultry smirk, the kind that made her look like sin dressed up in perfume. I'm pretty sure I said last time, I replied. We shouldn't see each other again. Her smile faltered. Then, lightly, I forgot, I said. Set a reminder. Have it tell you every day. She frowned. Do you really have to be that serious? Yeah, I said flatly. I do. Her lips drooped slightly. Then, after a pause, she whispered. What if I said, that guy and I weren't actually together? I didn't even look at her. Doesn't matter. I'm going on a blind date. Chapter 36. After dropping her off, I didn't even bother saying goodbye. Just hit the gas and drove off. Chapter 37. Saturday morning. I arrived at the cafe. My blind date was already there. Light makeup, delicate features, graceful manners. As expected, my mom wouldn't set me up with anyone strange. The conversation flowed smoothly. She was nice, genuinely so. We talked about real things, not just surface-level fluff. It was going well. Just as we were wrapping up, about to call it a day, a shadow appeared beside our table. Well, what a coincidence. Willow. She gave a small wave. Didn't expect to run into you here. I froze. My date froze too. Willow smiled politely. Mind if I join you? Willow, I said, rubbing my temples. I'm on a date. Her expression didn't even flicker. I heard you two were almost finished, she said calmly. My date frowned slightly. And you are? My boss, I said. Willow nodded, unbothered, and made no move to leave. My date forced a polite smile. Right, of course. Well, I should get going then. She picked up her bag. Mr. Wong, we'll chat on WeChat. I didn't stop her. Willow slid into the empty seat beside me, utterly at ease. I heard the coffee here's good, she said. It's not, I replied. Most people just come to take photos. Oh, she said. Then I must have remembered wrong. I stared at her, speechless. Finally, I stood, putting on my jacket. I'm leaving. But Willow suddenly reached out and caught my sleeve. Her wrist turned slightly, revealing a bracelet I recognized instantly. I stared. It looked just like the one I'd given her before, but there were small differences. Remade version, I asked. She gave a quiet not bothering to deny it. Her voice softened. George, I've been thinking these past few days. I still don't really know what love is, but that day, when I saw you bring that woman home, my chest tightened. It hurt for no reason. Is that love? She looked at me, eyes clouded with confusion, almost pain. Gone was the cold, untouchable boss. In her place was a woman, raw and uncertain, and at that moment, I realized, maybe, just maybe, when it came to love, Willow really was completely clueless. Chapter 38, I said. No, that's not love, that's obsession. She froze. Then, softly, she said, I've been thinking about the things I said to you before. They were cruel. I regret it. It makes me feel awful. Is that love? No, I answered firmly. That's just your conscience struggling to grow a heart. Willow's eyes turned red. I don't want to end things with you. That's habit, I said. I want more. She insisted. I want to go on dates with you. That just means your personal life's too boring. She frowned. I don't think that woman is good enough for you. That's arrogance. She hesitated, then continued. You live like a zombie, earning a dead-end salary. Staying in that tiny apartment. Working or gaming all day. No ambition, no passion, no dreams. Watching you live like that hurts me. How can anyone live so miserably? I swear to God, I was pissed. That's because you always look down on me, I snapped. But then she suddenly said, I like you. That's delusion. I replied flatly. Willow blinked, staring blankly at me. Our eyes met. Her face was as cold as ever. But suddenly, tears began to fall. They wouldn't stop. She cried hard, really hard. I broke out in goosebumps. Hey, don't cry like that with a blank face, I stammered. I didn't even do anything to you. You didn't. She choked out. Her voice, once icy, was now hoarse with tears. I don't know why, but when you argue with me, my chest just hurts. Willow looked straight into my eyes, her gaze trembling. I like you. I stayed silent. I love you. Still silent. George, she whispered. Then suddenly threw herself into my arms, her face buried in my neck. Her tears soaked through my shirt, sending a shiver down my spine. I love you, she murmured. So this is love. Then her tone shifted, a spark of realization dawning in it. Oh, she breathed. So that means, you don't love me. Chapter 39. Holy shit. This woman's mind runs deep. She must not, under any circumstances, be kept around. Chapter 40. When Willow finally stopped crying, she sat up and looked at me. Her eyes and nose were red, and her skin, already pale, made her look fragile, pitiful even. I want to go to your place, she said. Her voice still trembled from crying. Soft and pleading, almost like she was whining. Please, can I? A chill ran down my spine. It reminded me of my homeroom teacher in middle school. When she caught me reading comics in class, she smiled just like that and said, students will be students, then made me write a 3,000-word self-critique. Ah, that's probably not a good idea, I mumbled. She sniffled. I just want to rest a little. I look so ugly like this. Her face started to crumple again, tears threatening to fall. It was terrifying. Okay, fine, I said quickly. Let's go. Chapter 41. After bringing Willow home, she went to the bathroom, washed her face, and touched up her makeup. Then she came back and threw herself into my arms. I said, this is not good. Do we know each other? Although I live alone and have lived here for many years, as the saying goes, good things do not go out, bad things spread 1,000 miles. So I can only live in a thatched hut, watch the world, step on the mud, and have the world in my heart. Forget it. She doesn't understand the meme. She pouted. You lied to me. I shut my mouth. I'd reached my limit. Standing up, I said, I'm going downstairs to get a package. I'll come with you. she said immediately. No, no, no. I glanced at her still red eyes. You rest a bit more. Then I backed out fast and shut the door behind me. Chapter 42. George left. Willow stayed frozen in the same position on the couch. She waited half an hour. He didn't come back. Liar, she thought. Face expressionless. He's doing this on purpose. She stood up and wandered around the living room. Things were a bit messy, she thought. He should really hire some housekeepers. But then again, this apartment was far too small. He needs a mansion, she decided. Something to match the car I gave him. There was a villa near the company, spacious, bright, beautiful, perfect for two. It could be their love nest. She nodded to herself, feeling oddly pleased. And the more she looked around, the more this little apartment annoyed her. A knock came at the door. Forgot his keys, Willow thought. So careless. I'll get a fingerprint lock installed when we move. That'll fix it. As she walked to the door, her reflection flashed in the entryway mirror. She paused. Her figure looked good. She remembered the way George's eyes had lingered on her chest that night. He does like me, she thought. And suddenly felt lighter. With deliberate precision, she tugged her neckline lower, just enough. Then, in a soft, lilting tone, she called out. Forgot your keys. She opened the door. Chapter 43. What should have taken 3 days. Sophia managed to compress into a day and a half. She caught the earliest train back. The more she thought about George, the more uneasy she felt. Aside from their 4 years of college, they'd never been apart this long. If it was because of Makoto, she could explain that. She was young then, mistook well-read for deep, and ignored what truly mattered: values, temperament, empathy. She and Makoto were never really compatible, but now George was avoiding her, choosing a faraway university, keeping his distance. It left her hollow inside. Still, it was her decision, so she'd chosen to live with it. Even if it meant tears, even when Makoto moved overseas. She never once thought of breaking up. She waited quietly for him to return. Until that day, Makoto came back to visit, and when they parted, he said, "I'm not coming to see you again." Sophia froze. Why? She asked softly. Did I do something wrong? Makoto shook his head. No, but you act all fake. He looked at her with weary eyes. I don't even feel like you're my girlfriend. You're like a perfect little white lotus, flawless, untouchable. When I'm abroad, you never seem sad, or lonely, or scared. When I travel all this way to see you, you're not happy, not excited, not even touched, even when we're intimate, he said. You look disgusted, like you're being forced. It's boring, really boring, he sighed. Sophia, do you even know what fear feels like? When you wait at the airport, do you get anxious, counting the minutes until I arrive? If I broke up with you, would you even be hurt? You wouldn't. He shook his head again. So, he said quietly, let's end it here. Chapter 44. Makoto was right. She hadn't felt any pain. Even as she watched him leave, she was strangely calm. Do you have to break down, scream, cling, to call it love? Sophia couldn't figure it out. After the breakup, she started thinking about George again. 4 years apart, and when she saw him once more, he looked worn down, pale, exhausted. Something fluttered in her chest, the fragile joy of getting back what she'd lost. Everything could have been fine, until Makoto came back. She'd felt guilty, thought she owed him, wanted to help him through his low point, then move on with a clear conscience. But she hadn't expected George to mind so much. He stopped replying to her messages, ignored her when she asked for his address. It hurt, so she asked around, talked to his family, finally got his new address. To win a man's heart, you had to win his stomach. So right after getting off the train, she bought vegetables and meat to cook for him. She came in such a rush. She'd forgotten to put on makeup. Standing at his door, she hesitated. Would George dislike her bare face? Would he think she wasn't good enough anymore? Then footsteps approached from inside, unfamiliar ones, followed by a soft, lilting voice. Forgot your keys. The door opened. Their eyes met. Sophia's gaze dropped to the woman's half-open collar, the swell of her chest practically spilling out, oozing with deliberate seduction and smugness. Disgusting, Sophia thought. Absolutely vile. I feel like I'm going to get an eye infection just looking at her. Chapter 45. Willow's smile faltered. Gross, she thought. Why the hell is this woman staring at my chest? Chapter 46. I walked around the apartment complex 3 times, before finally going to pick up my package and heading upstairs. When I stopped at my door, fishing for my keys, someone suddenly came up behind me. I turned, and she looped her arms around my neck. Her breath brushed against my skin. Warm, damp, sticky, like some kind of serpent. I was speechless. She whispered, "How was your blind date?" "It's over," I said flatly. She smiled, that sultry, practiced smile, and said, "Perfect. We can pick up where we left off." Her eyes flicked around the hallway. Then she winked. "Right here's fine." I sighed. "You really have no shame, do you?" Her breath hitched for a moment. Then, pretending to look hurt, she said softly, "I never claimed to be a virtuous woman anyway." "So," she murmured, "why don't we just keep going? I missed you." Her voice rolled across her tongue, soft, sticky, intoxicating. "Every inch of my body misses you, George." She leaned in closer, her voice trembling. "Only you can satisfy me." Her tone was a mix of obsession, seduction, and something that sounded almost like a plea. "You made me like this," she whispered. I straightened my back and said righteously, "No. It wasn't because I was noble, but because Willow was still inside my apartment. If those two ran into each other, I'd be dead." She tilted her head. "Why not?" Her voice turned sweet again, too sweet. "You found a new friend already." "That's none of your business," I said. She ignored me completely. Cooing. "That fast? Is she prettier than me?" Damn it. The irritation that I hadn't felt in a long time crept back in. Just as I was about to explode, the door suddenly opened, and there they stood, Willow and Sophia, one on the left, one on the right, both staring at me with thunderous faces. Chapter 47. Ah. Freya leaned lazily against my shoulder, a mocking smile curling on her lips. "She's not prettier than me anyway." Chapter 48. The atmosphere in the living room was tense. Willow stood by the window, staring out, her expression screaming keep away. Sophia sat primly on the single armchair, forcing a gentle, polite smile. She said, "I'm George's sister." Willow replied evenly, "I'm his boss." Freya, meanwhile, was sprawled on the couch like a cat with no bones. She smiled slyly. "I'm George's." She paused, winked, and said, "Friend." I was in the kitchen, washing a glass, pretending none of this was happening. Sophia came over with some fruit to wash, standing beside me. The sound of running water filled the silence. She tilted her head toward me, worry clouding her voice. "Brother, that female boss of yours, can't you tell?" I blinked. "Tell what?" She frowned, thinking for a moment, then whispered, "You're such a straight man. Can't you see she's a pretentious coquette? She pretends to be all proper, but inside she's manipulative and scheming." When I opened the door, she wasn't even properly dressed. I almost dropped the glass in my hand. She sighed, exasperated. "Brother, you've really got zero ability to identify a pretentious coquette. And also," she wrinkled her nose, "that friend of yours, she's weird too. She looks cheap, like she's never heard of self-respect. Definitely has a messy private life. Don't see her again." I almost burst out laughing. Sophia scolded, "Why don't you get it, brother? Women out there are dirty." I turned to her, our eyes met, and I couldn't help asking, "What about you?" Sophia froze, her light-colored eyes stilled like a frozen lake. She stammered softly, a blush rising across her porcelain cheeks. She turned her head away and whispered, "I can stay with you for the rest of my life." Chapter 49. So pure, so innocent. Too bad I stopped being a pure love warrior a long time ago. Chapter 50. I said, "You keep calling me brother, you know sibling marriage is illegal, right?" Then I added coldly, "Pretentious coquette." Sophia froze. Her gaze darted toward the doorway, where Willow now stood, though her face showed irritation. Sophia tried to maintain a soft, gentle smile as she said, "George and I aren't actually related. It's just, we grew up together. Over 20 years, childhood sweethearts." She continued, "No one can replace that." Willow looked her up and down, expression faint, and said flatly, 20 years and you still aren't together. That just means he's not attracted to you. Even in another 20, you won't have a chance." Sophia snapped, "What do you know?" It was the first time I'd ever seen her lose her temper. Then, out of nowhere, "How scary," Freya's voice chimed in, her tone syrupy. She appeared out of thin air and said, "Sister's so fierce, not like me. I only know how to care for brother." Sophia's breath caught in her throat. Furious and flustered, Willow rolled her eyes. "So much drama," she muttered. The whole place had descended into chaos. Might as well drink it while it's hot. Chapter 51. The three of them sat in the living room, each occupying their own territory, pointedly ignoring one another. I wanted to kick them all out. It was my weekend. I should have been resting, gaming, not dealing with this circus. Freya glanced at me, smiling faintly. "You look like you really need a break." She stood up, stretching lazily. "Then I'll go first. If you miss me, text me." She left so fast it even startled me. I thought she'd be the last one to leave. Sophia looked at me next. Her face was pale, lips pressed into a thin line, brows slightly furrowed, but still, she said softly, "Then I'll go too." I left the vegetables in the fridge. "The fruit's washed, remember to eat it." She stood up, her gaze briefly landing on Willow. Willow didn't look at her, not until a few moments later, when she said coolly, Sophia's face darkened further. Only then did Willow add lightly, I'll be leaving too. Sophia's face eased, just a little. She got up and walked toward the door. Willow lingered, dragging her feet. I followed to see her out. Sophia hadn't closed the door behind her, but suddenly, Willow stopped. She turned abruptly, and threw herself into my arms. She lifted her head and kissed my chin, just a feather-light touch on water. I looked down at her, same cold, proud expression, but her eyes betrayed the faintest hint of a smile. She asked, "Nothing you want to say to me?" I said, "Sorry, I don't owe you an explanation." That seemed to sting. She frowned slightly and said, "You really have no heart, George." Who the hell switched me to the pure romance channel again? I sighed. "Just go." "Wait," she murmured. Her breath mingled with mine, warm and close. Then she whispered, "Miss me, don't miss them." She stood on her toes, her soft lips brushed mine, and just past Willow's shoulder, I saw Sophia. Standing in the doorway. Back again. Chapter 52. It wasn't intentional. I genuinely didn't care. If we only live once. Wasting time on emotional drain is pointless. Happiness. That's all that matters. I just want to do whatever I want. Whenever I want. Chapter 53. Before I could even read her expression, Sophia turned and walked away again. Chapter 54. Freya stood under the shade of a tree, looking up at George's apartment window. She felt restless. She'd already played the part of the understanding woman. So why were those two still up there? Shameless. Chapter 55. After seeing Willow off, I spent the whole afternoon gaming. Later, I cooked a few simple dishes for dinner. My cooking was getting better and better. I came out of the shower humming, feeling good. Then I picked up my phone and saw a message from Freya. "Your place is too messy. I booked a housekeeping service for you. They'll be there soon." I stared at the screen, confused, and sent back a single question mark. No reply. Moments later, there was a knock at the door. I opened it, and there she was. A maid stood outside, smiling casually and waving at me. Freya's voice followed, purring. "Special offer, includes washing machine repair service." That sultry tone of hers. Sweet and dangerous. The last note drawn out like a tease. Freya looked straight at me. Her almond eyes curved into a smile. I said, "You don't look professional. Get a replacement." She pouted, "Don't be like that," and started pushing her way in. I sighed and stepped aside. "You really are shameless." Freya slipped inside. She kicked off her shoes and started taking off her coat. "It's so hot," she said. The coat dropped, revealing a lace-made outfit that was pure sin disguised as sweetness. I didn't stop her, just sat on the couch, quietly watching. Freya had that perfect hourglass figure, soft where it mattered, slim where it should be. Every curve was art. She climbed onto my lap, straddling me. I put a hand on her waist. "Stop." Freya froze instantly, obedient as ever. I asked, "What's the rush?" She gave a soft hum. "Your love life's too crowded," I said. "Go take a shower." Her eyes lit up immediately. Chapter 56. The lingering moisture, the faint scent of body wash, the soft fragrance of laundry detergent on the sheets, all tangled together, entwined, interlaced, impossible to tell them apart. Freya had her hair tied up, her eyes glistened with tears. "George." She suddenly looked up, her eyes startlingly sincere. She murmured, almost incoherently, "That guy." "I can explain. I just wanted to make you," I replied. "It doesn't matter." Her eyes dimmed. She said nothing more, only bowed her head again. Chapter 57. All the scents were drowned beneath one dominant smell. I let out a long breath, came back to my senses, grabbed Freya's hair, forcing her to lift her face. She looked up obediently, like a well-trained doll. Her eyes still misted over. I narrowed my gaze at her. She met my eyes without resistance. Then she let out a low breath, soft, tangled, intoxicating. I said, "Have some shame. Good girls don't make that kind of sound." Freya looked at me and smiled, eyes curved, a flush spreading at the corners. She said, "Look at me now. Do I still look like a good girl?" She whispered, "As long as I can stay by your side. I don't care how shameless I am." I fell silent. She murmured, "George, say something, please." I thought for a moment and began quoting a cliché. "You're special. You're not like other girls. You." She looked at me, smiling, eyes shining brightly. I closed my mouth. She asked, "And then?" Face full of anticipation. I said, "I forgot. I let go of her. Too long. Can't memorize it." Freya stayed there, head still tilted up, dazed. Tears gleamed brighter in her eyes. She said, "So many people have sent me those words, but when you say them, it feels real." I was speechless. I asked, "Why are you saying all this? You like me?" She shook her head. No, it's not love. It's addiction, she said softly. I can't live without you. Her voice trembled. My skin, flesh, organs, bones, hair, everything. If I leave you, it starts rotting here. She pointed pitifully to her heart. I sighed. Damn, I asked. What do you actually want? Freya raised her face to me, her fingers almost brushing my skin. Stopping just a centimeter away. George, she whispered my name. Like a mermaid praying for magic, she said. I want to be your little dog. You won't like me, you won't love me, and the hurt I caused you can never be undone. She smiled, a pale, sickly kind of beauty spreading over her face. And in her eyes, something dark, sticky, and desperate rippled. I just want to stay by your side. What else can I do? So I can only be your. I looked down at her. Freya met my gaze, eyes glassy, about to overflow, possessive and sorrowful. She said, as long as you'll play with her sometimes, that's enough. I sighed. But leashes are such a hassle, she said softly. That's okay. Her fingers touched her lips, trembling slightly. The ones who need leashes are the ones who aren't obedient. She lowered her hand, leaned in, kissed me, and whispered, word by word, I'll bite the leash myself, and follow right behind you, every step of the way. Chapter 58. The next day, when I woke up, Freya was already gone. A note sat by the bed. Band rehearsal. I tossed the note into the trash. Getting used to cleaning up after myself does keep the place tidy. Didn't feel like making breakfast. After brushing my teeth and washing my face, I got ready to head out for food. As soon as I opened the door, I ran straight into someone. Sophia stood there, holding a thermos lunchbox. Slim, quiet, standing still. Our eyes met. She didn't smile. Her expression was cool and distant. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. I looked down. A message from Freya. Awake yet? I ran into your little sister downstairs when I left. I even said hi to her. I was speechless. Little sister? Wow. Someone really knows how to flatter herself. I locked the screen and said, come in. Chapter 59. Sophia followed me inside. Silent. She set the thermos on the dining table and opened it. After washing her hands and testing the temperature, she said softly, it's still hot. Eat. I sat down and started eating breakfast. She moved automatically, like a programmed machine, took the laundry basket from the bathroom and began sorting clothes. Some went into the washing machine. Some she washed by hand in the sink. She asked, where's the detergent? Her tone was distant. Cabinet under the sink, I said. Sophia bent down, took it out, and murmured, this one isn't good. Underwear and outerwear need different detergents. She paused, then added, I'll bring you the right ones next time. I mumbled a response through a mouthful of bun. She rolled up her sleeves, washed her hands, and kept scrubbing clothes. When I finished eating, I looked up at her unconsciously. Her back faced me. The mirror reflected her tired face. Soft strands of hair fell loosely down. Her eyes were lowered, long lashes casting faint shadows, merging with the dark circles beneath. Expression calm, distant. I kept staring. Her eyelashes fluttered slightly. Her hands froze for half a second, then continued. Her lips pressed tighter. When I was a kid, after my mom scolded me, I decided I'd become a cold, emotionless study machine to make her regret it. Sophia looked exactly like that now. I looked away and went to the living room to play video games. Chapter 60. Sophia finished washing the clothes and started tidying up the living room, back and forth, over and over, as if circling me just to remind me she was still there. I got wiped out in the game again. Another loss. Put down my phone and stared at her. Sophia walked by twice more. Then, as if she suddenly noticed my gaze, she tried to compose her usual calm expression, but it only looked awkward. She said softly, brother, why don't you move back to where we used to live? I said, no, it's fine like this. She hesitated, as though weighing her words carefully. Her tone was cautious, testing the waters. Yesterday, those two women, they were bothering you, weren't they? I know maybe, they tried to seduce you, or maybe. She spoke as if she were defending me. I said, no. Sophia froze. I added, no one was bothering me. No one seduced me. I'm the one who went after them. I'm a real bastard. The color drained slightly from Sophia's face, leaving her even paler. She whispered, no, that's not true. I know it's not like that. You were just confused by them. Yes, you were just deceived. She tried to build herself a reasonable explanation, something to keep her worldview from collapsing. Self-deception. I decided to shatter the fragile peace. I said, I've slept with both of them. Sophia stared at me, blank. As if she couldn't process the words, the gentleness in her eyes shattered completely, revealing the chaos and pain beneath. After a long moment, she trembled, voice on the edge of breaking. No, that's not true. Please. Tell me it was just a mistake, that it was only a moment of weakness. I said. Yeah, it was impulsive, but what does that have to do with being a mistake? I added impatiently. You're acting like you're my girlfriend and I cheated on you. I looked straight at her. Stop saying useless things. If you've got something to say it directly. Sophia froze. All her forced calm crumbling in an instant. Her eyes reddened. Her whole body trembling with exhaustion, resentment, and pain. She asked, voice choked. Why isn't it me? I widened my eyes. She sobbed. Why them? Why can they, but not me? Why can't it be me? Her voice shook, thick with tears. I sighed and said, it can. Sophia stared at me, stunned. Chapter 61. In the bedroom. After a kiss, Sophia lay on the bed, a little dizzy. She was inexperienced, only able to receive passively. To respond softly, shyly. Her breathing quickened, cheeks flushed red, so innocent that it stirred the urge to tease. Sophia didn't know how to breathe between kisses. When we finally pulled apart, she gasped for air. Eyes misty. Autumn light rippling in her pupils. Her trembling fingers reached to unbutton her shirt. I sat up, thought for a moment, and said, I won't take responsibility for you. I looked straight at her. Are you sure about this? Sophia lifted her head. Her hands didn't stop unbuttoning. Her pupils were pale, like amber pools. Biting her lip lightly, she said, I'm sure. I stared at her for a few seconds, then suddenly said, forget it. I turned away. Put your clothes back on. I don't enjoy forcing people. No. The word burst out of her, startled, frightened, trembling. It was rare. Sophia, always so gentle and composed, had finally lost control. My hand rested on the doorknob. One turn, and I could have walked out. But then, she lunged forward, wrapping her arms tightly around me. Warm breath spilled over my back. Her voice breaking with almost painful desperation. I didn't mean no. I didn't mean that. George, please, I asked. Then what do you mean? I'm scared, she whispered. Her head rubbed lightly against my back. I'm afraid that you'll think I'm not good enough. That I'm not like them. Her words stumbled over each other. The white lotus mask she always wore finally shattered, revealing raw fragility underneath. I just wanted you to see me at my best, she said softly. I turned around. Sophia's eyes were rimmed with red. Long lashes wet with tears, like butterfly wings soaked in rain. A little heartbreaking, a little beautiful. I cupped her face and kissed her again. Sophia responded gently, obediently. Our breaths tangled. Sophia was reserved by nature, even when she was right at the edge. She bit her lip, refusing to make a sound. Her eyes reddened, lashes trembling, gazing up at me, wordless, pleading, lost. But I wasn't kind. Instead, I toyed with her. Sophia let out soft, broken whimpers, and because of shame, she made them lighter. I deliberately fought in a roundabout way, until she was utterly defeated. She said, brother, stop playing. Chapter 62. After it was over, I fell asleep almost instantly. Sophia lay down beside me, slipped into my arms, and rested her head in the crook of my arm. She took a deep breath, her voice still hoarse, trembling ever so slightly. I heard from Auntie that you went on a blind date, she said softly. How did it go? Without even opening my eyes, I replied. Given that the two of us are currently lying in the same bed, I'd say, probably not great. Sophia laughed, a quiet sound tinged with bitterness. After a long pause, she whispered, what if we got married? I'd try my best to be a good wife, a good mother. Makoto's face flashed through my mind at the worst possible time. Sorry, I said. I've decided not to get married at all. She went silent, for so long that I almost drifted off to sleep. Then, in a muffled voice, she said, at least, that means they don't have a chance either, right? So just, let me stay by your side, I replied. No one turns down a benefit that delivers itself. Sophia was quiet for a while. She was too smart not to understand what I meant. Finally, she said softly, If the price of staying by your side is having to endure the pain of knowing there will never be an ending, the jealousy of watching others get close to you, and the fear of never being loved back, if that's the only ticket in, then I accept it. Chapter 63. The room was silent for a long time. Sophia waited, but George never answered. He'd fallen asleep just like that. Her gaze fell, lashes trembling with quiet disappointment. For no reason, she remembered something Makoto once asked her. Are you afraid? Afraid? Yes. Afraid that he'd become someone else's husband. That even the fragile privilege of being his little sister would be taken from her. Do you get impatient waiting for him? Yes. On the train back to find him, every minute, every second had been torment. She just wanted to see him sooner. Do you get jealous? More than that. Seeing him with that pretentious coquette. Seeing her walk out of his apartment with those ambiguous marks, jealousy burned through her like fire, scorching her heart and gut. Does it hurt? The thought of losing him forever, of erasing every trace of him from her life, was agony beyond words. Regret, anxiety, restlessness, all those emotions she'd never known back when she was with Makoto, came crashing down the moment she realized her true feelings. Overwhelming, inescapable. Because of love comes sorrow. Because of love comes fear. The man before her was real, warm, within reach. She buried her head deeper against him. As long as he still allowed her to stay, as long as she could still touch him, then all the sorrow, fear, and pain born of love, she could endure them all. Chapter 64. Monday. Back to work. I finished giving my report to Willow Lu. She commented in her usual professional tone, clear, concise, efficient, her expression as cold and unreadable as ever. After a pause, Willow suddenly said, "I ordered a dress. Can you come with me to try it on later?" I nodded, not thinking much of it. It wasn't until we arrived at the boutique, and she stepped out wearing a wedding dress, looking at me seriously as she asked, "Does it suit me?" that my brain finally caught up. "Ah, yeah, it suits you," I stammered. Willow's gaze darkened slightly. "You're being perfunctory." I licked my lips, tense as if facing a firing squad. "President Lu, I just think I'm not really qualified to be the one helping you try on a wedding dress." She gave a short, amused hum. "Look how scared you are. I'm just trying it on. That's all. Don't overthink." She spun lightly in front of the mirror, then asked again, "Is it pretty?" "Pretty? No. Don't say that. Pretty? No. Pretty? No." My left brain and right brain went to war. Trap. This was definitely a trap. Willow watched my shifting expression, then suddenly let out a quiet laugh, soft and fleeting, like melting spring snow. It stunned me for a moment. She pressed her lips together and repeated, "I just wanted you to see what I look like in a wedding dress. Nothing else." I finally exhaled in relief. "It's beautiful. You could be on the poster for the store." Willow smiled faintly again, then turned to change out of it, but just before she stepped into the fitting room, she looked back and asked, her tone casual, almost offhand, "Are you coming to my place tonight?" I hesitated. I'd planned to play games with friends that evening. Then, as if she could read my thoughts, she added lightly, "Tonight, I'll be wearing this." I replied instantly, "All right." Chapter 65. As soon as Willow stepped out of the boutique, I hurried over to open the car door for her. The moment she got in, I leaned forward and fastened her seatbelt before she could even reach for it. The drive was quiet. I focused on the road, saying nothing. After a while, Willow broke the silence. "I added your friend and your little sister on WeChat." Shit. A cold sweat broke out down my back. "And then?" I asked cautiously. Willow said nothing. Her profile, outlined by the fading light, looked sharp and distant. I felt irritated. What was this? That same kind of guilt I used to get from my homeroom teacher back in middle school. "Come on, I graduated years ago," I said coolly. "I've already done what I've done. So what? You want to condemn me for being a playboy, or call me a scumbag?" I glanced at the bracelet on her wrist, my tone firm. "Willow, I don't owe you any responsibility." Unexpectedly, she laughed softly. You don't," she said. Then after a pause, she added, "I just wanted to see the real you, all of you." That shut me up for a moment. Damn, that almost hit somewhere deep. I asked, "Are you out of your mind?" She nodded lightly. "A little." Willow actually answered seriously. "Having a lot of people like you just means I have good taste." I snorted. "It's not just liking. I've slept with them too." She nodded again, calm as ever. "Then it also means you've got great stamina." I had no comeback. Her face was still composed, that signature Ice Queen calm. But there was a strange warmth in the air now, like snow softening into cotton. I couldn't help but ask, "Did some spirit possess you or something?" She shook her head slightly. "No," she said quietly. "I just figured things out." "I love you," she said, eyes lowered. "So I want to treat you well. That's my choice. If others treat you well, that's theirs. And if all of this makes you happy." She hesitated for a second, then added softly, "Then that makes me happy too." The car rolled to a stop. I turned to meet her gaze. Same cold expression, but something different flickered behind her eyes. She said, "The wedding dress. I really just wanted you to see me in it once. I don't expect anything else. That was my wish. It's enough." I looked at her for a long while, then said, "No, the way you process emotions is like watching a baby suddenly become a philosopher. Like a beginner in love cultivation skipping straight to becoming a cult leader. From not understanding love at all, to being completely consumed by it." Willow brushed her hair aside, leaned closer, and placed a soft kiss on my lips. She didn't argue, just murmured, "Yes, love is strange. Like you said, love is letting go. It's selfless. If wanting to possess you would make you leave, She looked at me, her eyes clear, and said, I would rather ask for nothing, as long as I can stay by your side. I said, is my side a parking lot? Everyone wants to park. Willow bent her eyes. She gave a light laugh and asked me, let me give you an option, yes or no. I said, or. Chapter 66, Saturday. For some reason, my apartment was unusually lively. 4 people squeezed into the living room playing cards. Loser gets a sticky note on the face. Simple rules, but the atmosphere was complicated. After a few rounds, Sophia, Willow, and Freya's faces were almost completely covered. I only had one note stuck to mine. Not that I was particularly lucky. They were just too busy targeting each other with passive-aggressive snipes. Sophia smiled sweetly and said, Miss Lou, what a pity. Then she gracefully slapped a note right on Willow's forehead. Willow's expression didn't change. Just luck, she said coolly. Let's see if you're still smiling next round. Freya, lounging beside me, took advantage of the chaos to slip me a card under the table. At the same time, she whispered teasingly, you two are so fierce. Who knew a little game could turn into a catfight? I yawned. Bathroom, I said, standing up. Check the time. I had plans tomorrow. Probably should call it a night. So instead of going back, I went straight to my room and crawled into bed. Outside the door, their hushed voices sounded distant, still arguing about something. Someone said, there should be an order, right? Another voice replied, by the rules. Then another, let's roll dice. The voices faded gradually. I couldn't be bothered to listen anymore. Chapter 67. Sometime later, I drifted into sleep. Half dreaming, half awake, I heard someone quietly open the door. The mattress dipped slightly, and a soft, warm body slid into my arms. Gentle breathing brushed against my ear. Steady, like a lullaby. A faint, sweet scent lingered at the tip of my nose. Then, a kiss touched my lips. Her voice came, tender and trembling against my ear. I love you, I murmured back. Thanks, I love myself, too.